Jeremy Brown and
all of them
Alina
trying to learn it.
Gazumi and all of them. Mind your language. We're talking by heart. 20 minutes after 8 here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. It's your Urban Lifestyle Radio. We're asking a big question this morning. Forcing the donkey to drink the water. Can we unite Parliament, the Supreme Court, and the Executive? Can we put them together? Will the Speaker of Parliament yield? Because now it looks like everybody's protecting their turf.
Oh.
Yeah. So, well, Speaker of Parliament said, this is my corner. Chief Justice said, this is my corner. Executive said, this is my corner. Obia on the corner.
Well, that's what the idea should be, that Obia on the corner. But others are saying, well, you are now trying to invade my corner, come into my corner, play in my corner, direct how my corner should go. And should you really have that power to also be in my corner? Stay in your corner. Let me be in my corner.
In fact, find me Patapa as one corner. Everybody has one corner. It depends on your corner and stay in your corner.
The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM.
And I'm very excited for this conversation this morning as we unpack it based on the theme that we have.
Right.
Now we have a Supreme Court ruling. Has that cured, or will that cure the issue at hand? Because I've been listening to NDC MPs talking on many different platforms, and what they said is that they're on the campaign trail. They've been summoned one too many times, and when they arrive,
they won't come. Nothing happens.
They said they will not come. They've come, because it's campaign season. Not everybody is in a safe is in a safe constituency. So it's a fight for their life. Somebody will be, up north campaigning. For you to call them down, they have to mobilize themselves, spend money
no business to happen.
For no business to happen, or for there to be, and then to go back. Even for the majority side, for the NPP side, even marshalling their own MPs, I'm sure it's not going to be an easy.
If your house is burning, you don't have time for luxury.
No. So now that we have the ruling, it will be interesting to know really what kind of consensus building is going to happen, if it will happen.
So the question I asked the other time is that, will Alexander Kwamina Afenyo Marking go through the standing orders of Parliament to be able to get Parliament to sit back? I mean, did he exhaust all the processes in Parliament before he run to the court? Would the Speaker admit any request to recall Parliament? These are questions that must be asked. You have gone to the court to get a ruling in your favor. That's fine. Two judges disagreed with the Supreme Court. They said, look, this should have ordinarily been, in Parliament. And then if at all, High Court, right? Basically, that's what you're saying. 5 judges said, we agree with Alexander Afenyo Marking, including the Chief Justice. And one other judge who's gone home, Mariam Owusu, she's retired now. So now will you go back to the Speaker of Parliament to use the standing orders to get him to recall the House in your own interest? Masa, one corner.
The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM.
The things we have listened to in this country, including this song, is one corner.
Where is he these days?
He's there, Charlie.
I mean, he hasn't given us something to...
Yeah, he has to give us something.
I mean, it's been such an interesting year. He has to come and crown it all up.
It's something.
Honestly.
The ding-dong is the... My God. One corner. So we'll have guests in studio in a bit, and we will have a conversation with them on this particular matter. But again, I asked the question, as you rightly stated, if Parliament is recalled today, who will appear?
Indeed.
We're in November.
Correct.
Elections are on 7 December.
That's right.
With 19 days to the big election. Who will appear? Who will appear? There's an election security conversation, and it's on the platform. You quickly, let's go to it.
Right.
I mean, if Parliament is recalled today, who will appear? It's a big question.
No, it's a big question.
Especially for those who are not going for re-election. Oseichi Mensah, Kennedy, Japan, a couple of them who are not. I mean, they might as well stay at home and not really be concerned about anything. So are we doing this right?
Have we done this right, given the way that this has progressed from the time?
It looks like flexing of muscles.
I mean, that has come up many times. Flexing of muscles, the issue of egos, and, really it has all boiled down to who sits where,
Right.
the numbers game, and so on and so
Right.
forth. But at the core of all of this is, pressing government business that needs to be conducted. And whether
You need
or
a
not
transitional budget.
transitional
You
budget,
don't have it.
and that will have some consequence on public sector
That's
workers,
right. That's right.
That has to
That's
be
right.
addressed as well. I mean, of course, as part of the business that government wants to transact is some tax exemptions. Also, you recall Afenyo Markin made that statement that the NDC, doesn't want to pass the free SHS bill, which I don't know why it's taken so long for that to now be in consideration. How long it's been in the pipeline for, I'm not too sure. But according to members of the NDC caucus, they are busy campaigning, so maybe after elections.
But one of the bills that was transmitted, in fact, the speaker in the heat of this asked that the LGBTQIA plus bill be transmitted to the presidency, in spite of the fact that the president's secretary at the time, Nana Asante-Bediato, who we're told is on a sick leave,
Right.
Receiving treatment out there,
Right.
not in any of the Agenda 111 hospitals. He's chilling out there, receiving treatment out there. He said, don't transmit it to me because we have a court case that's outstanding at this point, right?
That's right.
Speaker of Parliament, out of whether it's anger or out of stamping his authority, whatever it is, says, look, in the face of this ruling, transmit it to the president. Let's see the Care Ghana
Yes.
statement, and then we can talk to David Kumi Ado.
Certainly. Shall we read out that statement?
Yeah.
Okay, so Care for Free and Fair Elections Ghana. It's a press statement dated November 17th, 2024. Care Ghana calls for the release of the Code of Conduct for the 2024 National Election Security Task Force to win public support in the discharge of its duties. Care for Free and Fair Elections Ghana, Care Ghana, calls for the urgent release of the Code of Conduct for the 2024 National Election Security Task Force ahead of the upcoming December 7th, 2024 elections. This essential document is key to establishing public trust, maintaining transparency, and upholding the integrity of the election security process. The presence of a comprehensive, publicly accessible code of conduct will clarify the roles and limitations of the National Election Security Task Force, NESTF, and importantly, underscore the principles of impartiality and professionalism. As Ghana approaches the 2024 elections, trust between the security forces and the public remains a key factor in achieving a peaceful and fair electoral process. Past election cycles, particularly in 2020, saw incidents of confrontation and alleged misconduct by security personnel, raising concern about the safety and rights of citizens during elections. Care Ghana believes that a clearly defined code of conduct will build public support for the NESTF's role in protecting the election process while limiting mistrust and preventing unnecessary tensions. Now, the release of the Code of Conduct will allow the public to appreciate the ethical standards and code expectations of members of the task force during and after the election period. And finally, Care Ghana calls upon the Inspector General of Police, IGP Dr. George Ekufu Dampare, ahead of the election security task force to prioritize the prompt publication of the Code of Conduct, thereby demonstrating a commitment to transparency and reinforcing public confidence in the electoral process. And this is signed David Kumi Ado, Executive Director, Care Ghana.
David Kumi Ado is joining us on the phone line. David, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Johnny. Thank you for having me.
What pushed you to write this statement?
Okay. My regards to your cherished listeners. There's been a lot of reports about heightened tension.
Right.
As we are getting to the 7th December elections. And for me, I think that we will not have to sit down to allow our country to go down, to destroy the democracy we've built over this, like a lot of time. Our forebears adventured their lives to be quick to us the country we have today. Regardless of how it is and the difficulties we are experiencing, we have peace, and we need to ensure that we maintain the peace and the security we have in this country. So having read and having monitored the temperature, recently the NCC published a report.
Right.
And according to the NCC, a lot of the young guys in this country have decided to resort to violence if there is any idea or any reason to believe that the elections is being rigged.
3FM 92.7.
Parliamentary reports from CDD also have indicated that a lot of people about 72% of Ghanaians do not trust the Electoral Commission. So these and many other things tells us that, and even not that, let me just add one. Recently, I think the EU representative in West Africa had some interview with a sister station and also confirmed that there is that feeling that there will be some election violence. So we think that we must do something to contribute to ensuring that this country is as safe as it is today and as peaceful as it is today before, during, and after the elections. That is why we are calling for this. And the reason why we are focusing our attention on the National Election Security Task Force is that, even your station actually aired this in one of your news items, that the Inspector General of Police is promising that there will be peace, nobody should be afraid, and everybody should go around its business, especially during the elections and all that. And all those who are going to foment trouble or are going to engage themselves in any violent activities will be dealt with and all those. We feel that it is not only by issuing out threats that will cause people to conform or to want to excuse themselves from these things. It is public collaboration between the Electoral Commission, the security, and then the public itself. So we believe that there is a lot that the security must do. And I think that there is the reason for changing the name of our security, as in the police, from a police force to a police service, that you become very closer to the civilians, that you have them understand your way of operations, and that you are with them and you are for them. You are not actually against them. And when that happens, the public have some confidence and belief in operations of the security, and that they will want to collaborate and support the security so that they can have an effective operation. That is why we are calling on the security to ensure that let us know what are the code of conduct for all members of the Election Security Task Force, so that we can also help in ensuring that if any of them are going overboard or are doing things that are against what has been prescribed by the code of conduct, I think we will call them out. We believe that it will also, publicizing this code of conduct will also help the media, civil society organizations, and the public scrutinize the document, critique the document, and also offer some suggestions to fine-tune the documents in order to come out with something that will be acceptable by all. So we all can ensure that we watch for the members of these task force to abide by them.
I'm sure Kegana has been observing what's happening in Parliament, Supreme Court, the standoff, if you will. That's also a security matter, and I'm sure it's come to your attention. What do you say about it?
Well, it is, because I'm sure that all Ghanaians, if not all, majority of Ghanaians are following up on what is happening. And a lot of them are not too happy about it, because when you sit in Electoral when you go to gatherings where a lot of conversations are being done about the elections and current happenings in the country, people have their own opinions. And when that happens, you tend to side with one leg of the issue, either the judiciary or parliament, or either the executive, let me say. And this does not augur well, because it divides us, and it causes people to take an entrenched position. When that happens, it heightens the political tension we've been talking about. Even before we got here with the issue of parliament, the tension in this country in terms of politics is so high. And I don't think that it is helping us to be able to find solution to what is currently happening. So it is contributing to the heightened tensions we're experiencing. And I think that something must be done by it. I had thought that, if you ask me, the judiciary shouldn't have gone the way they did, considering the way things are going and then the heightened tension. Perhaps the three individuals, I mean, those are at the head of the three arms of government, could have met, in addition to some very respectable persons in this country, to look at how to go about in this particular misunderstanding and all those things we are experiencing, so that a better solution could have been proposed and then followed.
Right.
But unfortunately, this is where we are, and it is not helping. That is why it is very, very important for the police to give a certain assurance, for people to have some trust that the police is going to be fair, free, and non-partisan.
Right. Now, the elections are coming. We're just 19 days away from the big election. I mean, the parties have been, prosecuting their campaigns here and there. The stakes are high. Everybody wants to win, if you will. Let's drill down to the constituencies, the members of parliament and the PCs in the various constituencies. What advice do you have for them?
Well, if you have done well, if you have done enough to the admiration of your constituents, you don't need to come up with any machinations or Machiavellian tactics to win the elections. And when people try to come up with unconventional ways in doing things, that is when the end result is going to maybe, let's say, violence or something, because people will not agree with some of the things that you may do. So I'll advise them to go about campaign to the people, eschew violent language, vituperative language that will heighten tensions and all those things.
Right.
Try to tell the people exactly what you can do for them and what you want to do for them. If you are there already and you've not done what they are expecting, I believe that the best thing to do is to apologize to them and tell them that you'll be of a better conduct tomorrow. If the people agree to want to go with you, so be it, because it is the choice of the people. The sovereign will of the people must be the first and must be high on the agenda. If you try to subvert the will of the people, that is when we see all this violence that has been experienced in other countries, which we don't want to have or experience in our country. So everything must be peaceful. If you've not done well, as an MP. If you've not worked to the admiration of your people, as an MP. So let's try to do the best, speak to them in a way and manner that they will understand. If they vote for you on that day, that is fine. If they don't, you pack your tools and go. You have another 4 years to come back again.
But David, do you think politicians are that humble to be apologizing if they have performed abysmally?
Quite often than not, they are not. But I've seen some few that have used that tactics to get them back into Parliament. We've been in the system for quite some time now. We've done some work.
Right.
We test the popularity of some individuals who want to contest and those who have contested already, who are there and want to see whether the people are happy with them, therefore they are going to maintain them or not. So we know what happens. Some of them, when they get to know that the report that we give to them tells that people are not happy, therefore they are bent on removing them, they use this particular strategy to get them back. And some few of them have succeeded in that regard. If you don't have that humility to be able to go to your people to say, I'm sorry, obviously the people know that you promised them schools school buildings, you didn't do it. You promised them water, you didn't do it. You promised them street lights, you didn't do it. You promised them a lot of things. Their roads are bad, there's insecurity at their places and all those things. If you've not done it, you know, and don't think that the people are fools. Therefore, you can go and then deceive them again. Today, as we speak, a lot of reports are telling us that a lot of people are looking at the economy. A lot of people are looking at jobs. A lot of people are looking at education. A lot of people are looking at health and all those things. It means that the Ghanaian is today smart and is not dumb like yesterday when you just can come and say things and they will not ask you any question and they will just take it hook, line, and sinker. Today, the Ghanaian is more interested in our politics. I've listened to you, Johnny, many times, especially when you started this, your bars, like moving to the communities and getting people to join your bars.
That's right.
And when you interview them, the things they say, it tells you that people are well vested with the issues, bread and butter issues. They are well vested with the economic issues. They are well vested with political issues. So if you don't change your style and you think that you can still go to them arrogantly and convince them using some tactics for them to vote for you rather than the apologetic manner, I think that you'll be laughing at the wrong side of your mouth.
Well, David, thank you very much indeed for your time. That's David Kumiado, is Executive Director of Care Ghana. We're grateful that you spent your morning with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Johnny.
Great. And Helen, there you have it. Be humble enough to apologize if you have done Shakara. And then we'll get on. Today we can activate the phone lines and get people to talk to us. You know, I mean, I want people to assess their members of parliament and their parliamentary candidates. You don't be stuck in your partisanship. If your MP is not representing you well, you know, as David said.
Right.
If he's representing you well, you know. If he has done well, he knows. It doesn't have to come and coerce you to vote for him or her. You know, that fact has to be put out there.
That's right.
If your MP no they force, sack him. Finish.
Or some will say, well, this area is a stronghold, so just for that reason alone, no other reason.
A stronghold has a hold on you.
Yes.
Wow. Bars.
The best in the morning is on 92.
La Pokuti. Interesting music there. The music is 13 minutes. The first 6 minutes is just instrumentation.
I love that.
You get only this on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Make radio delightful for you to listen to every day. You spend time to tweet at us at 3FM927. Hashtag is 3FM Sunrise. We'll be happy enough to share your thoughts and comments with the rest of the wonderful world. Let's talk to Mr. Sami Obeng. Sami, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Johnny.
So, what is happening in Parliament now? What do you think of it? You've been doing a lot of work on Parliament and in Parliament. What say you?
Oh, Johnny, for what is happening in Parliament, I think it is for all of us to see. In the last couple of days, it's really been tough for this Parliament. A Parliament that I'm sure would have wanted to end on a very high note, but fortunately, the Supreme Court has ruled. We have a court decision, and as a country that has laws that needs to be abided by, structures that needs to be respected, and what have you, we can only expect that at the appropriate time, this 8th Parliament will reconvene to deal with the rest of the issues that they have on their plates, albeit looking practically impossible for the House to convene before elections. I mean, all members of Parliament are out and about campaigning for the opportunity to retain their seats. And so, as to whether that can be possible between now and elections day, it's another issue to be discussed. But fortunately, beyond elections day, this 8th Parliament still has almost a month to be able to transact business legitimately as the Parliament that exists until the midnight of 6th of January. So let's see how all of these unfolds.
Somebody asked me the other time that, well, the member of Parliament for a Futu constituency, leader of the majority in Parliament, went to court to try and seek relief, and which ruling has been given. Couldn't he have, exhausted all the processes in Parliament using the standing orders to have gotten Parliament to resolve this issue by itself?
So with that question, we now have to go into what avenues existed for him within the standing orders of Parliament to have resolved this matter. First of all, it's important to note that the Honorable Majority Leader went to court not necessarily on the back of what unfolded in Parliament, but recall that it was a weekend. The Honourable Member for Tamale South, Honourable Haruna Idris, who had made a comment on a political rally platform that he was going to trigger that if Parliament resumed on that particular Tuesday, and then the Majority Leader went to court to be able to halt all of those, and then the issues that unfolded in Parliament unfolded. So that's the first point that needs to be made.
Right.
The second point also is that once Mr. Speaker had actually also made some announcements or declarations by parliamentary practice and the standing orders, one would have had to come by way of a motion, file a motion to challenge Mr. Speaker's declaration, and then that would also go through the regular parliamentary processes and what have you. And yes, one has a right to trigger that, but that does not take away from him also his right to be able to go to court. As to whether that option he chose has yielded the best of results, it's a conversation for another day. But yes, I'm one of those who has always been of the opinion that since 2020, when Speaker Okwe made that ruling, we should have gone to court a long time ago to have had a better interpretation of Article 97(1)(g) and 3, so that we wouldn't have gotten here in the very first place.
Now, in wrapping up this conversation, we're looking forward. The Supreme Court has ruled, yes, but how do we then unite the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary? Because it looks like somebody described we have a constitutional crisis on our hands now because of the decision by the Supreme Court. How do we get out of this, the woods, if you will?
On uniting these three arms of government, I wonder if there could be any unity efforts within this limited period of time that we have until a change of baton, so to speak, for this tenure. Honestly, in the last the period between 2021 and now has not been a very easy one. It's been one where, because of the sheer situation of how the leadership of Parliament played out, with a Speaker who is not with the party that leads the country, there's always been that particular tension. Of course, we've known how the conversation around the Supreme Court as the apex court of the land and how judges are appointed there has also come into the space. Some of the decisions of the past with the Supreme Court that affected Parliament and even the present situation. So the three arms of government really are not at the right period now. I think that the next leadership of these arms, of course, for the judiciary, we know that it will be it will be the same. The Chief Justice is not going to change because there's going to be an election. But the two leaders, whoever gets to lead Parliament, whether it's the same Speaker or a new Speaker, whoever gets to lead the executive, whether it's His Excellency Vice President or His Excellency the former President, must make it an important subject matter to see how these three arms of government can work together, of course, not losing sight of their unique places and the roles that they are mandated to to play,
Right.
but also to ensure that we do not have a country where these three arms of government seem to be working.
The best in the morning
seem to
is
be
on
at loggerheads with each other.
92.7.
Sami Obeng is the Executive Director of the Parliamentary Network Africa. Thank you, Sami, for spending your money with us. We appreciate you.
Pleasure.
Great. And Courage Nobi says, good morning to you. You know, GRSRC. We are dominating everywhere.
Good morning to Courage.
Yes,
it's been a while. I've seen how he's been.
He's on the butterfly movement.
The Afro movement.
Thank you, Sami. We're grateful. Thank you so much indeed.
Are you? The best in the morning is on 92.7.
He is with the NPP, is the National Communications Director of the National Disaster Management Organization. Godwin Eduji Kujo Tamaklo, Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC. Courage Nobi is the Deputy Director in charge of policy of the Movement for Change. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much for your time. How are we doing? Great. John, let me begin with you. Is the government in a tight place?
As far as the legal matters are concerned?
Yes.
Oh, I don't think so. It's difficult. Let me say good morning to our listeners and yourself. It's difficult what is happening. There are urgent bills to be dealt with and co. And with this happening, it's unfortunate. But fortunately, the Supreme Court, the wing of government that is supposed to bring finality to all matters legal, all matters interpretation and co. What the Supreme Court says is what it is.
Do you think the Speaker will budge?
He has no choice. Otherwise, Article 2, Clause 4 may kick in. And we know the consequences and ramifications of that. If the Supreme Court holds anyone in contempt, not even the president of the land is above any law.
But he has the right to recall Parliament through the standing orders. If he says yapon.
No, so there's article, is it 115 or so? The one that permits them to compel the Speaker to call Parliament.
Yeah, but you put in a request and I say, okay, I've heard you, but I won't listen to you.
No. He has his mandate. It's mandatory. He has to call them. Yeah, and what he can do is what he has done twice. That the minority will go. And you see, it's sad that the Speaker decided not to provide leadership to the House.
How?
In all these matters.
How?
Because I was sad to hear the Speaker say it's not in his bosom to say who sits where. Why? Because there's a matter. You have given a ruling, which ruling the Supreme Court has stopped. You get it? At that time, stayed the execution of your orders.
Right.
Okay? So what it meant was that the status quo ante kicks in. So it is your duty as the leader who caused that commotion to state it on the floor of the House that due to A, B, C, D, I gave this ruling and the Supreme Court, because somebody has gone for interpretation, has stated that.
Are you saying that the Speaker, in performing his duties, caused commotion?
Yes, he did.
How?
He didn't provide a scintilla of leadership in the House. Okay, he left it. It's not me. Then you go to the House and the minority goes to sit where the majority is supposed to be sitting. You say it's the clerk's duty. Yes, it's the clerk's duty. The truth is that the clerk has not changed anybody's name on the majority seat and made Dr. Atoforsen the majority leader. He's not done that thing. So what it meant was that you provide leadership. Yes, I go and I've said it many times. Just D.F. Annan, okay, had done something like that before. Kwampepro was in the House, ready to read budget. And he got the order from the court. And he said, look, I have this now. You are here to read, but we cannot allow you because
there's a court order.
Yes, there's a court order. That is a Speaker that loves the nation and the cohesion of the nation and provides direction for these nations. Not somebody who puts his party interest over and above the collective interest of the nation.
Do you think Afenyo Makin could have exhausted the processes in Parliament using the standing orders rather than going to the court?
No, he could, but he
on his own,
for this one.
alone.
What do you mean alone? No, he engaged.
Alone.
He said
Who did he go with?
No, he engaged the speaker. He said he engaged the speaker. The speaker called him the minority leader and all. And later, progress was not being made. You get it. So he decided the obvious place. Sometimes I wonder why people have problems with people who go to the Supreme Court or the courts to get, results, because that is the only way. Otherwise, we resort to violence. Okay, and that is not an option. So if people decide to go to court, I'm excited.
So Afenyo did no wrong.
No, what wrong did he do? He said,
I'm asking you.
No, you said, and I said he used the initial processes.
Right.
But he wasn't, he hit a snag according to his statement. So then he went to court. And
what has been achieved now in terms of the resolution of the matter?
Interpretation of that article. I had said it. You didn't need to be a lawyer to understand that. That thing, okay, the framers of the Constitution took those things from 1958 and all the preceding years is to protect the sanctity of that unique parliament, to avoid the issue of cross capital.
So for example,
poaching and others.
So for example, Afenyo Makin can be in parliament as the leader of the majority side, as NPP MP for Efutu,
yes,
and decide that he wants to be an independent candidate in the next parliament,
yes,
and then go out there and be saying that don't mind the MPP, they are not serious. But when he comes to parliament, he comes to Sunday as MPP MP. What kind of confusion is that?
What confusion is it? Look, you see, I cited the example that in the Westminster system,
right,
okay,
we are running a hybrid, by the way.
Yes, right. That's why I'm bold to bring that example. In the Westminster system, the Prime Minister has two ways of dissolving Parliament.
Right.
One is when his party is not able to form get the needed quorum to form the government. So he goes to the King, and then Parliament is dissolved. Or two, the appropriate time for Parliament's dissolution, then he informs the King and Parliament is dissolved. That Parliament is dissolved before members go to seek for elections. Unfortunately, ours runs concurrently. So why is it that issues concerning the next Parliament, you are saying you can make a determination on that for the next Parliament? It cannot be the case.
Okay.
There should be a deliberate intention and attempt by an individual, Honorable Eduji Kujo Tamaklu, of a member of Parliament from Nkwanta, hypothetical. I hope one.
Are you prophesying to him?
Yes, yeah. You got it.
Am I stopping post as director of legal? Why are you pushing him into Parliament?
You get it. So when it happens, there, okay, this is his member of Parliament.
Right.
He has decided, like what you saying he did, that he's crossing carpet to join the MPP or the NDC. The law is saying what the framers, the spirit of that matter is that go back to your people, because your people considered you, one, you yourself, and two, the ticket on which you were before sending you.
That's right.
Yes. And so if for whatever reason you've changed your mind, go back to them. If you want to continue to stay in that Parliament, seek to continue to stay as an independent or cross, then you must go back. None of these four people is seeking to continue to stay in this eighth Parliament. And so that's the succinct interpretation. I salute the 7 justices of the Supreme Court.
There were 5 who agreed, 2 who dissented.
It's also important. Okay, in legal matters, dissenting views are also considered.
Right.
Okay.
But did you read the dissenting views?
Of Lord
Amadou, Lord Denning, yes.
No, their dissension was merely on the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. They thought,
but don't you find it strange that the people of Santru, Kofi Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi were asked to go to the High Court?
That one,
and after 3 years, the court says we don't have.
And member of Parliament Helu, and then my Kofi Adams. Those are the people.
You blame them for what?
For the SAL issue.
Why? Why do you blame them?
Eduji is from that area. And then Franklin Kuju, my own friend.
Yes. But why do you blame them? Why are you blaming them?
They sat down instead of, you see, when no, listen,
But
no,
if you,
listen, let me
if on
tell
the
you.
eve of the elections,
Article 47,
Sylvia, who is now
listen,
ambassador to Denmark, comes back
Article
to say that
47.
you can't vote.
No, Article 47 says that
Right.
one constituency cannot fall within 2 regions. It's succinct.
But that is the Electoral Commission's
No,
doing.
listen.
They are supposed to create the
So
constituency.
you are the MPs. I thought the South people should have been conveniently added to Boehm temporarily. Okay, because they fall in that region.
And that's the
because they
responsibility
couldn't
of
have
NDG.
voted. Yes,
NDG works at the EC.
No, it's his interest.
It doesn't
This
work
is
at the
just-
EC.
Well.
Frankie Kunyo doesn't work at EC.
There's opinion leaders from OT.
George, what are you
These
saying?
people are opinion leaders from OT.
George, what are you saying?
Kofi Adams, member of parliament, he should have brought them to add. You get
So
it?
when Sylvia,
And
no,
member of Parliament
when
should have
I'm
brought
coming,
them.
Yes,
correct.
yes.
No,
Kujo went to parliament. Kujo went to court.
So
Franklin Kujo went to
when
court.
Sylvia No was
Yes.
making that declaration
Yes.
before she left to Denmark as an ambassador, she did not know what you're talking about
She did not know what.
as PRO of the Electoral Commission.
No, but she didn't take the decision.
But she came to announce to us, so I'll hold her for it.
Yes.
But
yes.
she's an ambassador now to Denmark.
Yes. No,
You
let's
know that?
assume. No, let me say this. You see, let's assume somebody may be reading mischief into the conduct of, and some people found convenient in the Constitution, convenience that we can decide to ignore this. You get it? It is you are duty bound, okay, as citizen of OT. I'm talking lawyer Eduji Tamaklo, not an ordinary citizen, okay? Franklin Kujo, not an ordinary citizen from OT. Kofi Adams, MP, and Madame Helu, then MP.
You are finding people to blame.
I'm not blaming
for the
anybody.
inconsistency of the
I
Electoral
thought they should
Commission.
have taken it up.
I see.
Because the Electoral Commission could have found convenience in Article 47
Right.
to decide to check that responsibility. You get it? But citizens can take them on and then things will. I'm happy finally now the place has been recognized. But it wasn't a good thing.
Let me break.
Honest.
Eduji, are you
It
guilty
wasn't a
as
good
charged?
thing.
They say you
He's
are
a
an
prominent
influential
citizen.
you are an influential citizen from OT and you sat down and they twisted your hands. Are you guilty as charged?
So it's true. My mom comes from Kratchi. I was born in Nkwanta. And so, rightly so, when it comes to influence, maybe I have some coming from the OT region as well. I'm not sure about that. But listen carefully. On the creation of regions, it is in the exclusive bosom of the president and the president only.
That's correct.
The decision as to who goes to what region or not is in the exclusive bosom of the president. In fact, together with his minister for local government, Dan Boche then, it was the president who set up the committee, chaired by his lordship Justice Brobe.
Right.
How Eduji, how Kofi Adams, how Honorable
Hello.
became
Franklin Kujo as well.
Franklin Kujo became the people to be held responsible
3FM.
for this sin against the 1992 Constitution.
No, it's not a sin.
Would require further investigation. But it tells you how, with the benefit of hindsight, people have become aware that a group of people conspired. And in that conspiracy, it was to deny a group of people representation for 4 years. And they normalized it. And today what they are doing is to gaslight us that we are rather responsible for that failing and not them.
You don't take the blame.
I just told you the constitutional premise of creating a region where a town, a landmark will be is the exclusive prerogative
The president.
of the president. In fact, the constitutional instruments establishing the new regions were under the seal and authority of Mr. Akufo-Addo. Anybody that says otherwise is either being plainly mischievous or doing regrettable politics. But I can understand why. Listen, an electoral commission chairperson, by stroke of pen, could deny Santro Kofi, Likwe, Lolobi, Akpafu. And I have no hesitation in saying this. If those 4 communities were in Ashanti region, the result will be different.
Because
I don't
the citizens
understand you.
should have taken it up.
I don't understand you.
Franklin took it up.
Listen carefully.
I'm listening.
If Sandro Kofi, Likwe, Akpafu, Lolobi were to be in the geographical area in Ashanti region,
92.7.
they will never be denied by a stroke of
That's
a pen.
presumptuous.
But that's tribalistic, ethnocentric.
No,
comment.
and so that is the people who have governed this country. That has been their mindset. And I'll tell you why.
Tell me.
You see, Hohwe constituency, I know Hohwe pretty well.
John Peter Amewu's constituency.
So the then Hohwe constituency comprised Fodome, Alavanyo,
Right.
Vli, Liati, Hohwe towns itself.
Right.
Hohwe town itself. And then Santro Kofi, Likpe, Lolobi, and Akpafu.
Right.
Now, if you watch
We left Fojoku.
no, Fojoku is in North Town.
Right.
So Fojoku, Dofo, Togome.
True.
Those are North Town.
True.
Those are my places.
True.
So, you know.
Togome is the Fiamakos place.
No, Togome is
no,
North Town.
it's not in Dafiamokpo.
Dafiamokpo is far away, Peki.
I know there.
Pali,
Tongo,
yes.
and the rest. Germany and the rest.
Germany when the flood is
Yes.
Perfect. You are correct. Absolutely.
They have still not been
correct.
compensated, by the way. the
Now,
flat
you
people.
see. I was making a point. The only reason why SAR could be denied representation is because duty bearers knew where their vote will go. You know why?
No.
They were denied parliamentary the opportunity to exercise their franchise in parliamentary. But remember that for presidential, Ghana is considered to be one constituency.
That's correct.
So those four actually voted presidential. Akufo-Addo had 2,000 votes.
92.7.
In that constituency?
Yes. John Mahama had 10,200.
So it was going to go in your favor.
Now listen. John Peter Amewu won with a little over 4,000 votes.
Right.
So knowing that, good, if those 10,000 people who voted for John Mahama voted, there's no way Amewu will be.
How could they vote?
Oh,
You are a
please,
lawyer.
please,
The
please.
Constitution doesn't allow them.
I just told you. You are not listening. You are not listening.
Why are you making your friends
You are not
angry?
listening. And I understand why it's not in your interest to listen. But you see, Johnny, this morning I listened to my brother speak to the happenings in Parliament. First of all, in the superior wisdom of the 1992 Constitution, the framers, they never anticipated the president having majority in Parliament.
Minority.
A president having majority in Parliament.
Oh, they anticipated that.
I beg you. It is nowhere in the Constitution
Minority
that...
or majority?
Oh, listen. There's nowhere in the Constitution that says that the president-elect must have majority in Parliament. Do you get it?
I get it.
It's a matter of course.
The Constitution and its framers anticipated consensus building. And what is usually called the building of coalition. So you can be a president, you come in, not much, you build coalition government with a group of other people with a certain significant number in parliament so you can govern.
Right.
I am worried.
What about?
When I first read the Apex Court decision
92.7.
where they granted the stay of execution, it was extremely troubling.
Why?
Extremely troubling.
Why?
You see, the Apex Court says in its ruling that one of the reasons why they are unable or they would grant the stay is that it would disrupt government business.
That's right.
Since when has it become the business of the judiciary to ensure government business is run? That is politics. That is activism.
As part of the judiciary.
It has never been the role of the judiciary. Yours is to make a pronouncement on the legal issues.
Yes.
2, it is not the place of the Supreme Court to decide who is majority or minority. That's not your place. No. So the very moment you move into those realms, you are now into the realms of policy making. And that will definitely be problematic.
So you say that the Supreme Court veered into areas that they were not supposed to have gone to?
No. You see, in democracies, and I'll tell you, there's a famous case, the Still Steger case. Siraka. What was the problem? The United States of America was at war. Then the defense minister, among others, with the president said, look, America needs equipment for the war.
Right.
They need armored vehicles, among others.
Like we have.
So, steel companies in America, the president took an executive decision and seized those steel companies.
Right.
So they can go into the mass production of bolts, nuts, and others to help in the war effort. So this man went to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court said, Mr. President, it's true, you can do those things. But Congress must first declare war.
For you to be able to go in that route, right?
And left it there. So we famously call it the Still Seizure cases. And left it there. He said, Mr. President, you can seize those steel companies. We don't care.
Right.
But you do so in wartime.
Right. So Congress has to
must first
declare
war.
Right.
How you get Congress to declare the war?
I don't care.
That's your business.
But you get Congress to declare war. And once Congress declares war, you can invoke your emergency powers.
Why are you taking this?
And seize. That is a court that is able to exercise self-restraint.
Right.
It's key.
And you say we have not done that.
Listen, the Chief Justice, with the greatest deference to her, betrayed the thinking of the majority the day she asked the question, we are in crisis, and Parliament is not sitting.
3FM.
Clearly, from all intent and purpose, the suit was to get Parliament to sit.
But I remember that Sadio Sori had asked the question that this suit is not about Parliament coming to sit.
Yes.
And she agreed.
Out of the abundance of the heart.
The mouth speaker.
Out of the abundance of the heart.
The mouth speaks.
You can go for review. They've given the
You see,
interpretation.
I have read the view of the majority.
George has to go to Onia. Let me pick his closing thoughts and then, George, 1 minute, and then you can go to Onia.
Yeah, thank you. I brought Council and Franklin Cujo and Co. in because they are prominent citizens from the area and all lived in the area. I also started schooling in Kitakrachi. So,
but you are from that part of town, are you not?
No, I'm not from
there.
You
are not from
My mommy is from there. Who we are
okay.
So that's the issue. Yeah, but I've stayed in that part of town. So the Supreme Court thing, I'm happy.
Right.
I've said it and I'll reiterate it. That the meaning, the thinking, and the spirit of that clause is to protect the sanctity of every unique and any unique parliament, albeit eighth parliament.
Right.
Okay? Whatever happens, in relation to, it sounds absurd and ridiculous, but I like the example you gave, that marking will go and then still be, you get it. It sounds something. But until we find a solution to that, actions by individuals, actions by individuals in relation to upcoming elections.
Right.
That's why we said Michael Quay was wrong. In fact, lawyer Apatia then disagreed with
and you people didn't realize that until recently.
No, Johnny Hughes, you are an advocate. Why didn't you go to court?
Me?
You did it, yes.
I don't go to court.
No, but you speak the minds of the nation.
Right.
Okay, you speak the mind of the nation. So
I mean, would you have raised similar questions if you had 169, 106?
No, but it wouldn't have been of interest. You get it. But now the effect, because of the consequential effect, people felt
on the numbers.
Yes, the number. Parliamentary democracy is all about numbers. You get, that's why the framers of the Constitution brought this in, because people in 58, he knows it. People were moving the Northern People's Party. They were moving en masse to the CPP and others. And so when you go, you've lost your seat. Go back to the people. But actions in future is shooting. None of them had made any.
I hear you, George. You have to go to.
So I disagree with lawyer Haruna Idrisu, Dr. Atufose, and lawyer Ebi Samakloma.
He has to go to.
And the sad thing, they must bear it, because it's Constitution 47. The moment the region, you accept that the region is done by the president, okay, it cuts those people off.
It is possible. It is possible.
So the president by instruction can disenfranchise citizens?
No, they've been added to OT, and you know the consequences. So you then rise and say, okay, then in the midst of this, create a constituency for them immediately before election. You slept, and now you are up. Prominence.
George Easy has to leave us. I have to bring courage in.
No, but you let me just wrap up. You see, if you read the judgment itself, the majority struggled.
Right.
They struggled.
Right, the 5.
Yeah, the 5. And this is where the struggle came from. Right from the onset, there was a problem with the rates.
Right.
Fundamental defect to the rates.
Which is?
You see, Afenyomakin issued a rate from the registry of the Supreme Court on Monday. Article 2 requires an act or an omission.
Right.
To invoke the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. So on Monday, when Afenyomakin, as it were, invoked the court's original jurisdiction, the Speaker had not acted.
That's correct.
There was no omission.
That's correct.
And so what he ought to have done...
On what basis had he gone to court then?
Perfect. So there was no cause of action.
Preemptive justice? How?
Premature ejaculation.
Pardon?
For whatever it's worth. You understand? So what Afenyomakin and his lawyers ought to have done is to apply to amend the rate and then the statement of case.
But the same rate that they ruled on.
The same rate is what the Supreme Court decided. So there was a fundamental problem. So you notice that when the Supreme Court, the majority realized that defect, they now said they are now going to rely, listen carefully, they are now going to rely on the subsequent applications that were filed to glaze that fact. I mean, we call it importing facts. You have imported facts. A judge is not permitted. You see, the judge is put in a situation where he's supposed to be neutral, impartial. So it is what the parties bring before you. You can't even say you are taking judicial notice of that.
Right.
You don't do that. And so, right, in fact, if you read page 4 of the majority judgment, paragraph 4, page 4.
Page 4.
Is headed facts. They themselves concede, they admit that as at the time, Afenyo, when he issued the rate, the Speaker had not acted.
So then why did they take the decision?
Perfect question. That is why I'm saying that, look, and it is the more reason why I associate with the views. And I want to just read something
quickly.
So that
has not spoken.
Yes. If you look at the minority view, this point I made, the minority actually raised it very forcefully. And this is what the minority view. I think speaking through Justice Amadou Tanko. Listen to what he said. The court...
He dissented, right?
Yes.
Right.
With Lovely Johnson. And I salute them for that courage. The court is not a court to elicit opinions or academic information, but settles life disputes. Life disputes. Therefore, where a contention brought before the court, especially if same is anchored on the invocation of the court's original jurisdiction, is not life, it is fanciful and or frivolous. It is a waste of judicial economy for the court to entertain same. Further, the court must not be seen to be hiding under its interpretative function to be making laws as if it were Parliament.
3FM 92.7.
This is instructive.
The Supreme Court settles life issues. So at the time Afenyo Markin came to the
There was no
Supreme
issue.
Court, there was no issue. Did he amend the process? No. But you see, carefully, per the majority view, you can be an MPP MP and file for independent and still be caucusing with them on strategies.
That's the question I asked George. That how do I appear in Parliament and say I represent Party A? Then when I leave the precinct of Parliament,
not only legal, you have filed for independence.
Yes.
Where your party has a candidate already.
Yes.
So when your
and
party
then I will be out there campaigning and saying, forget this party.
When your
vote
party
for me.
meets to take a decision,
You are part of it.
how we will protect the seat we have. You are there listening. Those provision was put in because you see the 1979 Constitution did not have an important point.
Right.
So Kwekuba, lawyer Kwekuba, J.H. Owusu Achampong, they came in 79 on Victor Owusu's party.
Right.
Now when they got to Parliament, one morning they told Victor Owusu that we are no longer members of your Popular Front party and left. And now when they left, they said no, they won't join Liman's party too. However, they still want to remain in Parliament and remain in Parliament until the 1981 coup. So when we were doing the 1992 Constitution, we wanted to avoid that scenario.
Right.
And that is why we brought in Article 97(1) G and H to cure that 1979 problem. Effectively, with this Supreme Court decision, we are back to 1979.
Courage, step in for me. Are we forcing the donkey to drink the water at the riverside?
You know, when I looked at the constitutional provision the first time, I always said that G and H are two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
So I agree with councils, but because if you check, the two stand alone, like it's unique.
Right.
So how do you hold that H is right but G is not?
Confusion, eh?
How do you hold that? But what baffles me about all of this is the lack of principle from the NPP side. And surprisingly, the court has allowed itself to be drawn into that mischief.
How?
You asked a question before AC left.
Right.
That if it were like the composition of parliament were like 2016 to 2020.
Right.
It wouldn't have been an
169,
issue.
106. It would not have been an issue.
See, this indicates that people who are extremist in their conduct and cannot engage for consensus building.
That's all the problem.
They must always have absolute control, or the system should break.
Wow.
They can't reach out. And you see, our democracy is built on engagement towards fostering consensus.
Right.
Okay, so Ghanaians go to the polls today and say that in the unlikely situation that okay, we want Alhaji Bamia to be president, but we want NDC to have 170 seats in Parliament. Are they saying governance cannot, the executive cannot do anything?
But per the situation we have now, it doesn't look like that's a possibility.
No, I'm saying that, but you see, it's a possibility in our democracy.
Right. That the electorates can go and vote and take a decision.
That
but
we
then
don't want the executive to have parliament.
But you say that then the MPP will not allow that to happen.
No, are they saying
they will not contend with it?
No, are they saying that in that situation they can't govern? Is the Chief Justice saying that under that circumstance the country is in a crisis?
But that is what the court has said.
But that is how, in my view, irrational the decision of the court is. That our constitution that guarantees a certain form of democracy. You are saying you as a creation of the constitution, are saying that what the constitution envisages should not be. How so? How can one argue that? And this has been upheld in the court. You see, I'm not surprised the Mo Ibrahim governance index is saying that there's very low confidence in the judiciary. It has lost its perceived independence by 50%.
But that's a perception they have to fight back and win back.
But some of these decisions reinforce the perception. It's unfortunate. How? Because all that is before you is a constitutional matter. Rule on the legal matter and leave the politics for the political actors.
The court did not do that?
At all. When I heard the Chief Justice speaking with such emotions, the first time, and I said, no, I posted on my Facebook that what we expect from our Supreme Court is law, not emotional effusions. That's not what we expect. And so you're supposed to be dispassionate, impartial, come, listen to the facts, and state the position of law. Finish.
That did not happen.
It did not. And now, you see, when people veer off from what they are given in law, they create a crisis, and that is where we are now. That is where we are now.
How do we put Parliament, the executive, and the judiciary together to run our country? Because we need our country to march forward. We need a transitional budget. We need the bills.
You see, the court must not allow mischief.
Let me even add something. In the case I referred, the still seizure case, Justice Frankfurter has something to say.
What did he say?
He said the U.S. Constitution recognizes the issue of separation of powers. But in recognizing that, we should acknowledge that we have separateness, but interdependence.
Okay.
Listen carefully.
You have separateness, but interdependence.
You need me, I need you.
I need you, so we engage with Jojo.
You understand?
But is our system thinking along those lines?
I'm telling you that. At that time, the court said, look, it's true. We can see semblance of war. But Mr. President, we know what you want to do is for the sake of America.
Right.
Seizing the
steel factories
is to help you produce ammunition to protect the United States of America.
Right.
But this is how it is done. You have your members in Congress. Get them to declare war. Then you can trigger your emergency powers.
I see.
But you see, most importantly, the reason I raised this issue is that look at what Courage said. In all of this, how has the judgment helped in resolving the stalemate?
It has not. Really.
Because the Supreme Court, in fact, if you look at the majority decision,
92.7.
go and read that. Go and read. Justice Asiedu and Justice Yawasaredan, they only granted relief 1 and did the rest Pontius Pilate.
They washed their hands off.
They washed their hands off.
But somebody said that there were no orders in it for the speaker.
That is where I am coming to. Only relief 1, the declaration. But the court never made consequential orders.
So is the court just preferring an opinion?
So the court just said what speaker did is unconstitutional and left it like that.
So what?
Pontius Pilate.
But then,
so they brought Jesus before him. He knows that this thing, if I touch this man called Jesus, the ramification will be great. So he only said, oh, move up to the governor in Judea. You know, so this is what had happened in this case. So, in law, we call it pirate victory.
Yeah.
You get it, but it's of no moment. I've heard MPP.
You can't do anything.
I've heard MPP people say, oh, Speaker Bagbe can be in contempt. Which orders? Which orders of the Supreme Court is it going to be in contempt of?
Because there was no order.
The judgment is 109 pages. I took my time because of my media to go through.
Right.
Asadako, Justice Asiedu, Amadou Tanko. No one of them gave an order.
That's
directed at the speaker to do A, B, C, D. In any case, the day speaker adjourned proceedings, was Cynthia not in Parliament? She was there.
She was. In fact, she attended. She was part of the press conference.
The stay
Cynthia Morrison.
The stay of execution has Speaker prevented any of the MPs from taking his seat. So when I hear people talk about contempt, I ask, contempt of what?
But Johnny,
Yeah.
so you see,
But this is much more murkier than I thought.
exactly. So you see, what needed to prevail were cool heads, humility, jaw, and gauge.
People who parade around as peacocks.
That is all that needed to happen. Engage. And you see, when you try to solve
Peacock.
when you try to solve a political problem legally,
This is why you get.
and even in pursuing that, you pursue it for mischief. This is where you end.
Because the matter has not been resolved, though.
No.
The matter is still hanging.
And now you have to come back to what you should have done prior.
Now you are calling men of God and chiefs to speak
to go and beg, to go and speak to him.
Why didn't you call the men of God earlier?
Professor Martin.
Why didn't you call those statesmen and council of state members?
But you know what I want to say now?
No.
This that has happened at the national level is the kind of patapa that's been happening in the NPP for years under President Akufo-Addo.
Hey, I don't understand you.
Where ego is king. Ego is king. I'll show him. But there's an Akan adage. Say. Forgive me. Say. This animal that sucks blood.
The leech.
It is when the leech lands on your scrotum that you know to solve a problem without a hammer.
It be tick.
The tick.
The tick, yeah. When it
lands on your scrotum.
But why would it go and land there?
It's
Anything
looking for blood. Anything can happen. For at the time of hunger, that is where it
The juicy part of the body.
And at that point, you know how to solve a problem without wielding the hammer.
Because at that point you have to negotiate with the tick.
If not,
and
there'll be war.
But you see, this is, in my view, this is a blessing for this country.
How so?
Can you imagine with the kind of sole sourcing contracts, tax reliefs, agreements, and all? Can you imagine? In fact, we should look at what they've presented. They've laid down. Can you imagine the kind of things they'll be pushing through at this 11th
In fact,
hour?
they were ready to do some very diabolical things in this last minute
Can you imagine?
parliament. And so for me, what has happened has saved this country. Do you know how much it saved this country?
No.
$300 million.
Wow.
That's how much tax relief they were going to give this last minute.
$300
$million.
Whoa.
To which
Meanwhile,
companies?
Cronies company.
New creations.
Meanwhile, we're with the IMF seeking $300 million. Look, what has happened? Do you know what it has done to our democracy?
No.
It has opened perspective that whatever we do should never be short-sighted.
At all.
When the NPP took a decision in November last year on my brother Hobson
Yes.
and Nana Ohinto, among others, they didn't know that Article 9 of the NPP Constitution will come so fast.
Today they say
it's unconstitutional.
So I'm here as an NPP member. Actually, I wanted to state that earlier.
No,
the
because
constitution is
now
unconstitutional.
it is on the basis of that constitutional provision that
movement
they
for
were.
change.
No, they said that if I move to support an independent candidate, automatically I lose my membership.
That's right.
Now they are telling us.
Pon's letter.
Yes, now they are telling us that law, that their constitution is moot.
Is of no moment.
Yes,
and that
so
the
I have
national
not lost my
constitution,
membership of the NPP.
as interpreted by the Supreme Court, have
Oh no!
Yes.
So as I sit here today, I am still a member of the NPP, and I'm saying that vote for Alanche Martin, and the parliamentary vote for NDC candidates.
You see the absurdity.
This is what their ruling is created.
Yes.
This is what their convenient argumentation has created.
No principle.
I see. Council, the cost of living conversation is a conversation that must be had. But
And it should be done now.
I'm asking you, so can you buy the kinky? Are you able to afford it? Because the kinky conversation, Nanado at Nima, he showed us kinky. He said, one CD is too expensive.
We use kinky. We use Kofi Brookman.
That one too is expensive.
You say Johnny.
Yes,
Johnny. The name Kofi Brookman was given because it was patronized by poor people.
Yes, you can afford it.
Today, middle class men have hijacked the commodity meant for us and have
abandoned their
push the price limits up.
Listen carefully. And I like to do the analysis based on data and the numbers, because the numbers resolve the issue. This morning, speaking to you, Johnny Hughes, I am so disgusted that the president of Akufo-Addo, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia administration, can decide from December last year to feed innocent school children in our secondary schools with expired food. Expired rice. I am completely shattered. Look, when this information got to the vice president, the MPP presidential candidate today, that there's an intercepted 15,000 bags of rice, that they are re-bagging them. And this interception was done by the Ashanti police. Remember, Bawumia is the chairman of the police council.
Right.
So when these matters got to their attention, they rather allowed Ghana Buffer Stock, whose chairman is Nana B, the MPP national organizer, to go and buy the expired food and distribute it to secondary school children.
So it was not a hoax what Ablakwa said?
No! Let me read the letter.
The children are being fed with expired rice.
Oh, my brother.
Are you? Wow.
We benefit from no exaggeration.
92.7.
Let me read the letter dated 28th.
The best in the morning is on 92.7.
29 December.
Sunrise on 3 FM.
Right.
C. FDA.
Food and Drugs Authority.
Letterhead. Managing Director. Lamens Investment Africa. Unauthorized repackaging of Moshosho rice.
Moshosho rice.
The Food and Drugs Authority, Ashanti Regional Office, dictated through response to an alert that your company, Lamens, has been repackaging Moshosho rice into different packaging bags with a different brand name, Sidao ECOWAS. The country of origin, India, of the rice had been changed to Ghana, thus concealing the identity of the rice. Additionally, unlike the original bags, no bits before dates had been indicated on the repackaged rice. This criminality, this is murderous.
And it's given to school children.
Presec is the center for distribution. So they brought the rice to Presec and distributed it across the country.
Are you serious?
Look, Bawumia was in the know. He knew about it. But their fear was that they were going to campaign on free SHS. And so if Ghanaian parents and students became aware that from December 2023, the rice they were going to feed the children with, or have fed the children with, had this expired rice, the children were going to revolt against the policy and therefore concealed the police investigative report together with the FDA. And now guess what they did? After the FDA wrote this letter to Lamens Investment Africa, Lamens wrote back to the FDA accepting culpability and promised to pay a penalty, and actually paid half of the penalty.
And they stopped paying.
We refer to the above subject matter and your letter reference, blah, 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 dated 29th December.
Yes.
2023. We hereby attach payment receipt for 50,000 Ghana cedis, being half of the administrative charge leveled on the company for infractions on Section 103.
Yes. Yes.
This one happened in Ghana.
Ghana under Nanado, and Bamia was in the know.
We are feeding our children with expired rice.
Yes.
Repackaging it.
Yes.
But do you know?
In fact, and do you know what they did? The origin of the rice was
India.
They now made it.
They changed it into Sidao ECOWAS. So
to say that we sourced it from the ECOWAS buffer.
But this is a crime. This is criminal.
Medros.
This
and
is
I am saying that
orchestrated crime.
Dr. Mahmoud Bamia, as the chairman of the police council, knew that the Ashanti Regional Police had investigated this matter. The only reason why they concealed the investigation, in fact, it has to take a whistleblower to leak the report.
3FM.
Because the person could not, in good conscience,
keep this,
that our children, the children in our various secondary schools, over 400,000 children have been eating expired rice.
No, but do you know the part I don't understand with all of this? You see, after you have spent 2.1 billion cedis in planting for food and jobs, part one.
Right.
My brother, 2.1 billion cedis.
That's a lot of money.
That Peasant Farmers Association today are calling for an audit of that because they said they did not receive the incentives that they're supposed to receive to produce.
Then you share expired rice.
Then you now go and import expired rice and share it to our children. If this is not the height of wickedness, what else is?
Gentlemen, I'm underwhelmed. We have to go. Thank you very much.
No, we can't go.
No, we have to go.
No,
you cannot come and stress me anymore.
I beg you. Johnny, I know you. I know you.
No, but now you people have stressed my money. You have stressed my money.
Listen, you are a journalist of repute. If you were a businessman in 2020, listen carefully, sorry, in 2016,
right,
and you had 1 million Ghana cedis, it translated into $250,000.
That's right.
And so if you're an Aboso kind spare parts dealer, and your container, one container is say $50,000.
Right.
It gave you 5 containers. So you could bring 5 containers worth of spare parts into Ghana, sell, get your money.
Right.
Today, lo and behold, and let's hail the king of incompetence, the king of economic mismanagement, Dr. Mahmoud Bamia.
Dr. Digital.
In fact, as I speak to you, Bamia is worthy to be given the order of the vulture.
92.7.
The order of the vulture.
Not Volta.
No.
Vulture.
Incompetent division. You understand? Because today, that same 1 million Ghana cedi can only give you $65,000.
From 200,000.
$250,000 to $65,000.
We are talking about companies. So if you are an individual, and the equivalent of your salary in 2016 was $2,000.
Oh, God,
today it is $600.
Hey.
If the equivalent of your salary in dollar was $2,000 in 2016, today it is $600.
We have to go.
Oh,
look,
why are you in a hurry to go?
No, I'm in a hurry to go because you people are stressing me.
As we speak, you are 70 years old, 65 years old. You decided to live a wealthy life by saving for the future. Then we woke up one morning, Akufo-Addo and Bamia decided to give you a very wicked haircut.
But there will be no
Having
haircut.
promised that there shall be no haircut. Leadership is about trust. Leadership is about believing and letting your people follow you. A leader whose words means nothing ought not to be trusted with leader. Now, in my conclusion, as we speak, I beg your pardon. The Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration awarded a dubious contract to a company called Kenny GBG, run by a Nigerian, Philip Olai, where they give this Nigerian businessman $1.5 million every month since
92.7.
To do what?
I don't know. They say he's doing revenue assurance. Now, guess what?
Same thing SML did.
Good. It is this contract that gives Akufo-Addo, Eslawusu and Co. $1.5 million every month since 2018 that they are seeking to protect with the third term of Akufo-Addo through Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. Fellow Ghanaians, we are at the crossroad. We have a choice to encourage this unbridled corruption and impunity. We have the opportunity to put a stop to this naked thievery. How in God's name? Than the president's daughter's boyfriend, Stephen Okoro.
He's also a Nigerian, eh?
Yes.
We have a thing for Nigerians, right?
Whose only source credential is that he's had a daughter with the president's daughter and giving the president a granddaughter. And for that matter, he's deserving of a sole source ambulance maintenance contract.
Family and friends.
Running into millions of Ghana cedis. Having first of all provided the ambulances. What wrong have we done?
Courage. We have to go.
No. Before we go.
No, we have to go.
Seconds.
Now, our listeners have to...
Would you, Johnny Hughes,
yes, sir.
in good conscience, use $58 million to dig a hole?
I'm not here. I didn't come to work today.
Would you, in good conscience, use $58 million to dig a hole?
I didn't come to work.
You know the sad part of that
and now guess what?
$58 million issue?
The two of us, young people like us, young men in the streets, are looking for job. $58 million. That's equivalent of almost 900 million Ghana cedis today. It's enough to create 1 million jobs for young people.
But that's a priority of priorities according to the president.
Absolutely. And that is even what makes it disgusting and bizarre.
Courage. Wrap up
What we
for
are
me.
experiencing is the result of governance by PR.
Huh?
Governance by PR.
Today people came power.
No, this is like, it's like an empty wind.
92.7.
When it bets nothing. And so you are being forced to deny the facts of your own reality.
Yes. And it is called gaslighting.
Yeah. To deny the facts of your own reality. See,
You are hungry, but you are not hungry.
you are not hungry.
You are made to believe that...
You want to build the National Cathedral. Do you know what happens in jurisdictions that...
It's not a national cathedral. It's the president's pledge to God to give him a second term.
I'm one of the people who support that for what God has done for this country and how God should see that. We need an icon.
Right.
Something that demonstrates
But there
that.
was President Akufo-Addo's promise to God.
Good. Now, in
We
countries...
didn't hear more.
Yeah, and then...
But you say we didn't more.
In countries where things are done right, what you do is that you have a lot of architects, both locally and internationally.
Right.
You float a competition. People submit ideas. Out of that process, the best idea wins. Do you know the honor for you to have been the one who designed the National Cathedral of a nation like Ghana? And the benefit of that is that you then get the contract. So the design, you don't get paid for it, but you get a contract to execute the project. And then local people get to participate. Out of that $58 million, about $35 million has paid off Ajay and Associates. The sole sourced architect contractor
Said David Ajay.
has been paid off 100%.
And the project is not done.
Not a single...
But do you know the worst case? After they designed, the architectural design, then they came and said, look, they want to add
The
a
best
biblical
in the morning
restaurant
is on
to the design.
92.7.
They sell unleavened bread.
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
man.
I said you know, or no Jesus now or the Christosome a buyer no. And no the Last Supper no or the restaurant. A young one.
No, but I think the
No,
idea
you
of
see,
that one is
the
for
most-
tourism
the-
attraction.
I beg you.
No, that one.
Ọ̀nù Kristo náà ọ̀nù ní ní Kristo som ẹ̀dí báyìí no. Ẹ̀mìrán náà ọ̀ní ní disciples no. Ọmọ kò didi wọ restaurant. Na wẹ́ẹ̀ nyina ẹ̀ka sẹ̀. But you see, even more interesting is that we gave $6 million to Larry Simons to do the restructuring of the design to include the
$6 million.
biblical
We
restaurant.
have to go. This is your song. My producer says no.
Do you know what we are being told?
No.
After you voted for them to come to power, and now MPP Aparachik, the president's daughter and boyfriends are enjoying. Do you know the song they sing?
No.
Nyame eshirame ashiwo
Sisifia.
sisifia. No,
No. Almost say.
Baby,
Tio.
my
Almost say.
kunta.
Nyankopon eshira omo.
Ana
With
ashiwo na
$54 million ambulance contract. 100 million Ghana cedis ambulance maintenance contract. Then I show what.
This is it. Then ayoya.
The why ye. Oh, Santonio.
Ayoya. Ayoya.
Now, Budia or say. Or no, PCC Fianu. Hey, Bamia.
Economy na Sisifia.
Na Rome Eshino. Na Emperor Nero. No Bonsenku. And no be na Ekosu and the businessmen. Ain't me na. Emrakwa, the chairman of economic management team, Obetina Dream Solutions, no. No, or sell stage, so no, sell we are. Or say Yanko Poishra or no.
Now what na show?
Now,
what business no?
What will business a good? Mamia, yedi expire food, edema or bano. A show.
We have closed. Now birthday time and the phone calls. And we have finished. I finished.